Well, hi everyone. This is our first podcast. This is BestLife Leadership Foundation. I'm Scarlett.
I'm Michaela. Love it. Let's do it.
Perfect. Okay. So this month's topic is time management. We did release our newsletter last week, 2 weeks ago. And then Isabella's putting up a YouTube video. So if you want more of like a general introduction to time management before you hop in on this conversation, be sure to check those out. How would you define time management?
Defining time management. So I would say that it's really just how you choose to spend your time and being intentional with that. So making sure that you're planning out your day to the best of your ability to reach, your goals is how I would define time management.
I feel like time management definitely varies from person to person because we've all got different priorities, different lifestyles, different just phases of our life. So how do we summarize the definition to fit every single person?
Right. Yeah, it's really difficult, and different strategies are going to work for different people too. So that's why we're here today, to talk about those strategies, and hopefully people can take those ideas and implement them and see what works for them.
Yeah. And I guess beyond just defining time management, why is it important? We're recording at a little coffee shop in Gilbert today. And I was just telling Michaela how this used to be a place that I would come and do my homework because it would help me literally manage my time better to focus on my homework without distraction. So for me, time management at that time was super important because I was trying to get good grades to get into college. But overall, why do you think time management is important?
Well, I think it's just to not waste time. In my world, time is my worst enemy. So I feel like I'm constantly just running against the clock, running late. I'm chronically late. It's a personality trait at this point. So I'm just I think if I can also, I'm nowhere near perfect at managing my time. So doing things like this is also going to help me. And it's just going to honestly help decrease anxiety, help with my ADHD, and then overall just help me, again, meet my goals and not waste so much time and energy throughout the day, worrying about, how am I going to get all this done? If I have a plan, I'm able to, take the time and, again, be more intentional with that time.
I like what you said at the beginning where we really was time management is about not wasting time because time is the most precious commodity. Time you can never get back, all those sayings about how time really is our most valuable asset. And for me, being here, high school for me was 6 years ago, but it also feels like it could have been yesterday. So what happened during all that time? I did a lot, don't get me wrong. I've done so much. I've traveled. I've finally graduated from college. But I think it's really important, and I don't think a lot of people realize time really does fly. What's that other saying? The days are long, but the years are so fast. I can't tell you what I was doing yesterday, but high school feels like it could have been a week ago as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. But in the same token, it also feels like a completely different life for me. Sometimes I think about it as in years of, blocks of 4 years. So it's 4 years of high school, 4 years of college, and 4 years after. It's each of those to me feels like a completely different lifetime, and it really messes with you. But then also it's how did so much time pass so quickly?
Yeah. And how much time did we waste?
That part.
I don't know what it was, but something, I think I was reading something on Instagram because I was scrolling, wasting time.
Right.
But I think I read something about how by the end of our life, we spend over 10 years just eating because it's such, like, not that it's a waste of time, obviously we need to eat, but I think that just goes to show, like, it's something you do every day, and most of us, I think, scroll now every day.
Yeah.
So are we going to be on our deathbed and think, oh my gosh, I literally wasted a whole decade scrolling through my phone?
Probably. But also, like, how much time do we spend getting ready or sleeping? Like, we spend so much of our life sleeping, which is so important to also be productive throughout the day. So, you know, a lot of these things are important, but I would say social media, scrolling, phones, like, that is the biggest distraction, biggest waste of time. However, I also use it as a tool a lot of the time. You know, I can't function without it at this point. All my resources seem to be on my phone. So, you know, it's very helpful, but there are ways to reduce wasting time on it too.
I think for me, it's been especially hard lately with social media because this is literally what we're doing for our job right now. Like, we are putting on a podcast, we are managing the social media, like, I'm trying to start, like, a travel agency, like, all of these things that require social media because it's such a active part of every people's lives. I've been struggling to not fall into that same scrolling pit and call it research.
That's a really great point, because you definitely need to separate the two.
So we're working on it.
Yeah, day by day.
But here's a question for you right now. I guess you can give us a little bit of insight, like what's going on in your life, but what are you doing to assess your time management skills right now?
For me, I really have started to implement time blocking because I've had to do that, you know, for this job. If you look at our Instagram, we have started with the different time management skills and ideas that we put out on Instagram. I've also started to implement that into my daily schedule. So, you know, I'm noticing that there's a lot of wasting time of just like thinking about what I'm going to do next, instead of just like planning it out and then being able to go based off of that. Does it always go as planned? No, but it's so much better to have, you know, that helps me. Time blocking really helps me get started, at least, instead of just like sitting around, you know. So I don't know if you want me to explain what time blocking.
Yeah, what is time blocking?
So time blocking, essentially, you're assigning tasks throughout your day to specific times. So you have like an estimate time of like how long it would take you to complete a task, and then you put it on your calendar or on there's time blocking sheets and everything, where you kind of list the different tasks within a certain time frame. So basically it kind of prevents you from being interrupted or being distracted. And, you know, another thing to do during time blocking is put all your distractions away. So like your phone, anything else, like if you try to multitask, it's not going to work. Apparently only 2% of the population can actually multitask. So that's pretty crazy. I just heard that on Jay Shetty's podcast I was listening to. But yeah, and he has a really great podcast on time management. But and making sure also, something interesting that I heard from Jay Shetty's podcast was separating creative to analytical tasks. So it's also really difficult for our brains to process like creative work and like logical. I think logical,
like switching back and forth takes a little longer.
So even like scheduling out your day and doing time blocking according to like the different types of tasks. So say like one day you focus on creative, the next day is logical, or, you know, morning you do creative, afternoon you do logical. So things like that could help too with being more efficient with your time.
I guess, what would you say to someone whose concern is like, oh, I don't want to have every single minute of my day planned, because it can come across like that, like way too routine, way too strict, like no room for adapting or like changing what you want to do. Like, what would your, I guess, response to that be?
I would say to not be afraid of it, first of all. I think, but, you know, everyone's different. So if that's something that you really don't want to do, just portion out your day. More like, I guess if you wanted to time block, you can spread it out more. Maybe in the morning you don't have anything specific, like, because for time blocking you can literally, like you said, portion out every single part of your day, but you can just, okay, you have your alarm, you wake up, but then like at 9 o'clock, that's when you start your time blocking day. Or and then, you know, you give yourself a break for lunch, and then you don't nothing specific. Like I have to eat this meal at this time and then stretch at this time, and so as even if you just want to do it with just like your work and then just put in times for rest, I feel like the rest is really important. And then like for the afternoon could be even more flexible too. Can just like depends on like the subject that you're working on and like how broad you want it to be, I would say.
I think I've done time blocking before, and while it is super helpful to me, it's definitely not something I can do like every single day, because I think that would drive me insane. So I think that's something people could try as well, is just doing it half of your days of the week, or like start with 2, work your way up to 3. Like I think it's really important to note that for a lot of the topics we're going to be covering, strategies we are going to be sharing, like it's not something you can just implement overnight, because it's an analogy, an example that I like to give is for someone who wants to be fit or start going to the gym. Like if you set the expectation, like 1 week you're not going to the gym at all and that's your normal, and then you set the expectation of wanting to go to the gym 7 days a week, like that's just not realistic and you're going to burn out. So starting to implement these things like little by little is the way to build the habits so they actually stick instead of creating burnout. So maybe that's something that I can definitely improve on, like implementing these habits like a day at a time, because I have experienced burnout specifically with going to the gym. Like lately there was 1 week where I was really good about it. I went like 7 days a week, and then the next week it was like twice. So
that's a lot. It's like setting unrealistic expectations for ourselves. And I mean, what you said also reminded me of something else, another method that I have, that I think you and I have worked on together, but also just like more specifically, like setting one goal for the month, or several goals, but say you're just setting one goal for the month, and then you set set like weekly goals, like smaller weekly goals, and then you set and then you set a weekly task to reach that goal. So it's like kind of breaking it down so it doesn't seem so overwhelming, like I have all these things I have to do, all these goals I have to meet, but if you just kind of break it down, like okay, I only have to do one thing today that's going to get me to the goal to the end of this week, that's going to get to the overall goal.
I like that. And I do feel like time blocking, again, like wrapping it back around, like that's exactly what it does. Like at the beginning of your day, you have a huge task list with a million things you need to do, a ton of responsibilities, but it breaks it down into like bite-sized pieces, and then you can just check it off. And I don't know about you, but like checking things off my task list is one of my favorite things in the world. Just seeing that little check mark, it's like, okay, something. I'm done, like I can move on to the next thing. Oh my gosh, it's like a relief. Almost. Absolutely. I do want to share one of the things that I have been working on, or like one of my personal strategies, but it's called the Eisenhower Matrix, and I took a course at ASU that was entirely focused on learning how to make better decisions in life. Because I can be a little bit indecisive. Like it's something I've been working on for a very long time. But the book we read, I think it was literally called Decisive. And that's where I was first introduced to the Eisenhower Matrix. But it's just a way to organize your thoughts and your tasks, because I am really busy. Like I'm involved in quite a few different things. At the time I was doing, I think, 21 credits for school. I was in 3 different clubs. I was dancing. I was prepping to be like the Latin Soul director, which I'm sure will come up again in these podcasts. And so I had to figure out of all of the things that I had to do on top of like my own responsibilities and bills, what was the most important, the most urgent, and the Eisenhower Matrix does that exactly. Like it organizes it out for you so that you can prioritize the things that need priority, and then you can just eliminate the things that don't even matter, or ask people for help. So I'll probably throw up like a screen for this. But the Eisenhower Matrix splits all of your tasks into 4 different categories. The one on the upper left is your most urgent and important tasks to do. So these are the ones you have to do like right away. They have deadlines, they have consequences. Like if you don't do it now, something negative might happen. It also splits it off into tasks that are not urgent, but they're really important. So maybe you have more leeway, more time. Maybe it's something you have to accomplish by the end of the month or by the end of the quarter. So it's very important for me to accomplish, but I have a little bit more time and I don't have to stress about it as much. The other things, it separates it into a list of urgent but not important things. So these are typically things that I would delegate to other people or ask other people for help with. Like it's something that I know someone else can take care of, but they don't require my specific skill set. For example, I just needed someone to reach out and get a whole bunch of invoices and quotes for some t-shirt and merch that we were going to order. Anyone can do that. So I asked someone on my team if they could do that for me because it was urgent, but it wasn't so important as to take away my time from actually handling the budget. And then the last category it separates it into is not urgent and not important. So like, why are these things even on your task list? You can either just get rid of them, they're distractions. And you would think that there's not a lot of those. Like if it makes your to-do list, like it must be important, but sometimes you can just get rid of them. So this has been super helpful to me personally, because even though it's more like in a square, it's not like a checkbox. Like I can still cross things off and I work my way down the matrix. So
yeah, that's awesome. And I think that kind of leads into just like the conversation around priorities and how important that is, because I mean, again, it's really, it probably would blow my mind to look at the tasks that really aren't important or aren't urgent, and to see if that's something that I could really just like kind of relieve from my plate. So
yeah, I think it's crazy how much we stress ourselves out over things that literally have no significance, no impact, no consequence, and we live in that for so long until hopefully one day the light bulb goes off and we think, oh wait, it doesn't even matter.
Well, yeah, it's the pressure that we're putting on ourselves that we feel like we have to do all these things when really we only probably have to do half of those things, or maybe even, who knows, you know?
Yeah.
So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Lately, what I've been doing though, and I shared this with you, is I have a little whiteboard in my house that every morning I just try to write out 2 goals for the day that will help me improve, and then 3 or 4 tasks at most, because I could make a list of 10 things I need to do, but using the Eisenhower Matrix, I pick what is the most urgent and important based off of that day. And this helps me again have like bite-sized pieces instead of saying, oh my gosh, I have a huge list, and then decision paralysis comes in and I don't even know where to start, or because there's so much to do, I don't want to start. Like, I don't know if that's ever happened to you where you're just like,
oh yeah,
there's so much to do, I'm just not going to do any of it.
Yeah, you just completely freeze. It's like, I don't know, there's a term for it, but
I don't know.
Yeah, you know,
we'll look it up.
Yeah. Yeah, but absolutely. It's kind of like standstill. You're like, where do I even start? So yeah, I think something that helps me also is like having multiple calendars.
Okay.
I think also just for people who may have ADHD or who are neurodivergent, I think having reminders in multiple places really helps.
Yeah.
And whether that be reminders of the tasks you have to do or of like the appointments that you have and whatnot. But I have like a big physical calendar on my wall, and then I have my personal calendar where it's like a what do you call it, like a planner or something,
a book, like a little planner,
like a physical planner. But you know, so I like have everything on my calendar, but then in my planner it has like room to list tasks too, so I can list tasks next to, you know, everything that's going on throughout my day, and then also like I'll put it in my phone calendar. So just having it in multiple places, like having those reminders, like really can help me stay focused on what is happening today. And also, I would love to get more into this, but also I think a lot of taking charge of your time management has to do with staying present and like, what am I supposed to be doing right now? and it also goes back to like the whole multitasking thing, because we all think we can multitask, but also it's at the end of the day, it's just wasting more time multitasking. So how can you stay present in what you're doing and that single
Focused.
task? Yeah, focused. Yeah.
I think that's really hard because there's just so many distractions. We went camping this last weekend, which was really, really fun.
Yes.
And I think I can safely say that's the most calm and like peace and focus that I've felt in months. Like,
Yeah.
it was crazy, especially after everybody else. It was like a big group of us. Most of them left the campsite, and then I was just like laying in the hammock. There was like no noise, no distraction. And then when I came back into the city, like even though I was just sitting in my room folding my laundry, no music, no TV, like the AC's loud.
Yeah.
Like I can hear this AC right now.
Yeah.
But just being in nature was like, okay, this is what it's like to actually focus. And unfortunately, a lot of our environment, like we can't control, like it is just going to be loud. So how do we find that focus in such a chaotic and distracting environment?
Yeah, because you saw how happy I was this past weekend. I was like, guys, I don't know the last time I've been this happy. It was amazing. And that's like, you know, our natural state. Like we're supposed to be in nature. We're supposed to be, you know, experiencing things like that. So yeah, I also wonder, you know, what are you going to do every day? What's one thing that's going to get you through your day to where at the end of the day you can say like, this is a good day, you know?
Yeah.
So we all have to figure out what that is for us. And I think sometimes that's even setting time aside for that one specific thing that is going to make you happy, whether that's yoga, meditation, listening to music, dancing, playing a sport, whatever that is, you know, hobbies.
Yeah.
You know, that I feel like can also help us be more productive because we feel more fulfilled.
Yeah. I think that's important. We can like go into that a little bit, but just the idea that society has placed on what success looks like or what productivity looks like. Like we can talk about how all of that I think went out the window when COVID hit because we couldn't do almost anything. And the idea of success and productivity, at least the way I think society explains it, is busy at all times, accomplishing tasks at all times, like not wasting a single second. But that looks so different to different people based on what their definition of success is. But we're trying to like mold everyone into one definition of success. And it's like, to me, just making my bed in the morning is a huge success. It's become a habit now, but it's a small win in which I get to start off my day right. But to other people, it's like, well, you're just making your bed. No, that's productive for me. That's like super productive for me because it cleans up my bedroom a little bit.
Yeah, and they say like a clean space like allows for, you know, focused mind or something like that. So absolutely, I love what you said. You know, we are kind of made to try to fit into these little boxes, and we're so much more than that. Like we're so much more expansive and limitless, and you know, it's difficult to navigate, but
It is. I used to prioritize a lot of like a creative outlet time in my life, and I definitely have not added that to my schedule for like the last 2 or 3 years. But to some people, like that was like a little bit of like wasting time when I could have been doing my homework or I could have been doing chores. But for me, when I could just like sit down and draw or like paint or craft or scrapbook or make friendship bracelets, like I think that was a lot of my peace time, a lot of like my refocusing time, which would then help me focus better on doing my homework.
Yes.
So I think there is a huge conversation that isn't talked about with making time for things that you enjoy is actually going to make you more productive in the things that you might not enjoy as much.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you said, we don't have to talk about this now, but something that you were saying reminded me of habit stacking. If we can go into that a little bit quickly. Yeah. Okay, so what you were saying about, you know, we came home from our trip and you were doing laundry and there was no music, nothing. You just heard the air conditioning. That just reminded me of habit stacking. If you did want to kind of try to figure out how to enjoy certain tasks more, I think habit stacking can help with that. So listening to music while you're folding laundry, listening to a podcast while you're brushing your teeth, getting ready in the morning, cooking, cleaning. I am all about that. And I don't know if it's, again, just the way my brain works with my ADHD, but I think I always feel like I need some type of stimulation happening. So although it's fabulous, and I would love to be like this if I could just be in the present moment, folding my laundry. You get it, girl. Fold that laundry. Like, you're killing it. You're loving it. But also, if you're trying to make the most of your day with certain things, like just learning different things through listening to a podcast or whatever it is, you can do that while being productive while doing other tasks.
So what would you say is the difference between habit stacking and multitasking? Because you said only 2% of the population can multitask. So what's, I guess, the difference between that?
I would say multitasking is when you're trying to do two tasks at once. Two tasks that require brain power.
Okay.
I would say habit stacking is one task that requires. Okay. I guess I would say habit stacking is when you're completing some type of habit or task, such as like a chore, that's kind of mindless, that you've done a million times. You don't have to think about it. You just kind of do it.
Okay.
And then you're focusing on something else at the same time, like a podcast or music or something. Sometimes, when I'm doing that, I'm not fully focused on the podcast or music. Like, I try to. Sometimes I have to rewind because I'm like, oh, I got so into what I was doing.
Yeah.
But it's to the point where you're not trying to. There's not really.
There's not two things like competing for your attention.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you for saying that. That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I used to, back when I was trying to learn Italian, because my car ride to work is like a 30-minute car ride, I would always listen to a podcast on the way because I've driven to work like 1.5 million times. I know the way, I know the route, I know exactly like where the stoplights are, and I was able to focus. Like, I was still focused on the road. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a safe driver, but I was also able to listen to a podcast to learn a new language where I knew I wouldn't be so inclined to do it if I was just sitting in my bedroom.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Exactly.
So
100%. That's exactly how. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like driving is the best time to do something like that. I can't sit in a car in silence. I have to be doing exactly that.
I've tried it, but again, I can still hear the AC going or like the strange noises that my car makes because it's so old and probably going to be running to the ground.
There are some moments where like my brain is so overwhelmed and I'm driving and I'm like, I actually do need to sit in silence for a second. Like, I don't want to hear anything, maybe besides like the cars around me or something like that. But like, sometimes it that will happen. But most of the time it's like, okay, how can I make this long drive,
more enjoyable?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Well, to finish off, I think we can talk a little bit about like rest and recovery and how that plays into time management. We kind of already talked on this a little bit, but what do you do specifically to like recover and to like freshen up so you can like hit the ground running again?
Lay horizontally.
Fair. Okay.
I mean, honestly, I love laying down. After I'm like done with all my work and everything, sometimes I really do just like to go lay in my bed and just in a dark place where sometimes I'll light my incense or I'll put some music on or like my comfort show or something like that. That's something where I'm just like really exhausted and I really don't feel like doing anything else. But to recover, to help with like, again, anxiety or something like that, just to help decrease stress, I really love stretching, yoga. I think it's really difficult for me to be able to get myself to do it at home. So if I can go to a class, I'll try to go to a class or do it with someone else. or just being out in nature. So like go sitting at a park, going and taking a walk. I love just laying in the sun. Again, laying horizontally, fabulous. Anywhere, anytime, in the sun, outside, things like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it for rest and recovery. I'm sure there's other things, but yeah.
Something other than the fact that I also really enjoy sleeping, something I've been struggling with is I have another job where I work at a gym and we don't close till 11 p.m. And at that point, I've been on my feet for 6 hours at least, running around, cleaning towels, like doing all these things. So I am like physically so exhausted by the end of every single night. But then there's also this expectation that I think society has put on people that you're only successful if you start your morning early, like bright and early. And I hate that. I hate that because I love my sleep and I love sleeping in. And so I used to feel really, really bad about coming home from work late, being so tired, and then sleeping in till like 9:30 or 10 because I felt like I wasn't being productive with my time or that I was wasting time. So I have started to literally every single night before bed and every day when I wake up, tell myself it's okay to sleep in a little more because you worked hard the next day. So just the fact that the expectation is so deeply rooted, I think that I have to tell myself out loud or in my head, like, it's okay to get enough sleep. You don't have to be up at the crack of dawn because if I'm working late, I don't even have to say that I earned this sleep. I just deserve it. I think it's something inherent. You deserve that rest, and that goes beyond sleep. You deserve to just sit down and like do your nails for an evening, or just sit down and like watch a movie. Like you don't have to earn those things, because if you know you're working hard in other aspects of your life, it's just something you deserve. There's a difference between just being lazy and just resting because you deserve it.
Oh yeah, and it's just what your body needs. Again, sleep is the most important thing in this life. Like you will not be productive if you don't have good sleep. And I love what you said, because I am the same exact way. I've always been a night owl. I love sleeping in. It's so hard for me to get up in the morning. It's something I do want to work on, like every day. Like I do feel like I'm part of myself and I want to be able to get up earlier, but you know, at this point in my life, it seems like that's just how I function. And I go to bed late, I get up a little bit later. Luckily I work from home, so I have the flexibility to be able to do that, and that just fits my lifestyle. Would I want to be the other way around? Yeah, sometimes I would, but you know, I think it's really important to remind yourself that it's okay to give yourself that time.
Give yourself the grace.
Give yourself the grace. The compassion that we're all looking for. That we give everyone else compassion, right? We need to give ourselves compassion just as much. So
absolutely. Because at the end of the day, if you don't give yourself that rest and that time to recover, like, I hate to say it has caught up to me a number of times, and that's when I get sick, and that's when my face starts to break out, and that's when like more hair is falling out of my head because I'm stressed all the time and cranky and moody and like all these things. And I used to be able to say like, oh no, I can fight through this and like push hard. And I know 24 isn't even that old, but like it's going to catch up to us eventually, whether it's like a week down the road or 5 months down the road, like it catches up, and then it takes that much more time to recover from crashing. And that is time wasted because you could have avoided it.
Exactly. So it's like, how do we prevent? Let's work on prevention.
Moral of the story, time management includes taking care of yourself.
Point blank.
Yeah.
And I just want to ask you one more question. You probably weren't expecting this, but what is something you're going to do today to take care of yourself?
That's a really good question.
Or something you would like to do today to take care of yourself?
Something I've been wanting to do, which I've kind of just been putting it off because I didn't think it was that important, is I'm moving into a new apartment in like a month, and I really, really want to pick out and print a whole bunch of pictures to put up on my wall and make it feel more like a home, because we have to like get new furniture, like everything. We're starting from scratch. So And I also think that like reliving good memories through pictures is really good just for my mental health, like like remembering those good times that I shared with my friends. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to like actually sit down and go through all my pictures and pick out some really good ones to print and plaster all over my wall so I can remember that more often.
I better be up there.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is it for the first one.
Yeah, thanks so much for watching. This has been fun.
We'll be back next month with work-life balance.
Bye.